It's Mornings on the Mall with Brian Wilson and Larry O'Connor. And, we say this is where Washington comes to talk. Washington is more than just politicians and pundits and media types. This is turning into a major sports town and the major player in town for a lot of the sports that we enjoy, specifically everything over there at the Verizon Center, is Mr. Ted Leonsis, and he's our guest right now. Ted, thanks so much for joining us.
We're really happy to have you.
Oh, thank you. Good morning to you, too.
Well, let me start with sports. We want to talk. I describe you as a man in full. You sort of hit it all: technology, business, and philosophy. But let's start with sport and entertainment, by the way. But sports-wise, let's hit the Wizards first. How much would you? Looking at how they're playing now, how much would you love to have November back?
Well, we got off to a very rough start, and not to be totally unexpected, we were so shorthanded without John Wall and Nene. And we had planned to be a much improved team from last year based on our off-season moves, and I think we're starting to see that. Since John Wall came back into the lineup, we have a winning record. We're over 500, and the team is improving. We've won our last 7 of 8 games at home. We have a big game tonight against the Brooklyn Nets, and if we could win tonight, we would have won all 3 games that we had at this homestand. So. Things are looking better, but not good enough.
We respect bold leadership, Ted Leonsis. Now, here's what I need you to do. I need you to call your shot. Boston has suffered a horrible injury. They are, falling down, crippled. Yes, they beat the Lakers, but who hasn't beat the Lakers? Are the Wizards going to catch them for that final playoff spot?
Well, one of the things I admire about the coaching staff and the team is that they're just playing one game at a time. There's still a lot of games left.
This is not bold, Ted. Be bold.
We obviously our goal at the beginning of the season was to compete for and qualify for the playoffs, but we got up to such a rough start. The hole was pretty deep, but stranger things have happened. The first year in our rebuild with the Caps, we won 14 games in a row, I think, at the end of the season, and squeaked in the last day. And so there's hope, and I'm hopeful that the team just keeps playing the way it's been, and that'll augur well for our future.
Here on Mornings on the Mall, we've been covering something that happened in Washington yesterday, symposium down at the Smithsonian, and it had to do with the name of the football team in this town, the Redskins. Many American Indians find it to be an offensive name. It's becoming more and more of a topic around town. You own a team that once had to change its name because the previous owner felt like the name was not appropriate given what was going on in Washington at the time. If you were Dan Snyder, do you think you would consider a name of the change the name of the Redskins to something else?
I can't put myself in someone else's shoes.
Well, if it were you, what would you do?
I have my own issue, right? Half the people want us to change the name from the Wizards back to the Bullets, and the other half say, "Don't you dare ever do something like that." And so these are very, very emotional issues. I do think that they get blown somewhat out of proportion. We're just focused right now on trying to make our team a high performer. And, we can address the name of the team at another time. That's kind of a small issue for us right now.
Yeah, Are you considering that, though?
We have taken it under advisement. We've done a lot of research on that issue. It's a major redesign, and it honestly does take about 2 years if you were to change the name. And so what we elected to do in the short term was to change the look and the feel, which we did last season, of the uniforms and of our design, and go back to that red, white, and blue. And I think for the time being, that's all we'll do. But yeah, I'm open to that. Many fans have suggested it, and I've just felt that it's like a cheap thrill. To change the name back, you'll get the half of the people that would say, "Yes, I'm so happy that you did that," but it would also activate another 50% of the fan base to say, "How could you do that?" Mr. Poland and the family changed the name for all of the right reasons, and so. With all that's going on with the team, I thought it best just to kind of calm the waters and do nothing and just focus on trying to rebuild the team and make the team a high-performing team.
I get that, but I mean, as an owner, you must have some sympathy for what Dan Snyder is going through with all this discussion about the Redskins.
Well, I do have sympathy. I mean, Dan bought a team and an established franchise, an established brand, and, you know, the brand is very, very popular, and, you know, why this has become such a political issue, and, you know, he's got to make his own decision based on their own research, but, you know, it's not something that I should be giving anyone advice. I have my own problems to deal with.
All right, fair enough.
Well, and let's talk about some of those problems. One would say the Capitals are a problem. I mean, last year there were a lot of people here thinking that Stanley Cup was a very real possibility for the Caps, and now this season you only have 2 wins so far. Are you satisfied and with Adam Oates' performance as the head coach?
Well, we're not satisfied with anyone's performance. We're last in the NHL, and, you know, last night was a very demoralizing game. It's been kind of a bellwether for what almost every game this season has been. We played a terrific first period. Pittsburgh had 5 shots on goal the whole period. We were up 1-0, and we were controlling the territory and the pace of play. And within 12 minutes in the second period, we took some crazy penalties. There were some soft goals, and they scored 5 goals in 12 minutes. We lost 5-2, and it's obviously not acceptable for anyone. The fans are very unhappy, and ownership's very unhappy, but it's not with Adam and the coaching staff. It's with everything. You know, we're trying to implement the new system, and you can tell that the players are struggling with, you know, where they should be and what's going on, but there have also been so many individual breakdowns. You know, yesterday's second goal when Adam pulled the goaltender, that's exactly the kind of thing that we can't allow to happen. We can't let a simple goal and gift the other team a goal. And, you know, it seems that every game there's been some kind of breakdown. And so we play a game tomorrow night. It's our 12th game of the season. I think that's representative of a quarter of the season gone. And, you know, we're behind the 8 ball. There's not a lot of games left, and I think we're 2.5 games out of a playoff spot, but there's a lot of teams ahead of us. So, you know, there's time's a wasting here, and so the team, the front office, the coaching staff, the players, you know, everyone in the organization, obviously starting with me, has to really dig deep to find out what do we have to do to improve the team, change the team, and, you know, make this season worthwhile.
Well, Ted Leonsis is our guest. He's the owner, of course, of the Washington Capitals, Washington Wizards, the Washington Mystics, and the Verizon Center. And talk to me quickly about monumentalnetwork.com. Oh, you know what? Can you just stick around?
Yeah.
We got to take a quick break for traffic and weather.
Please, we'd love to have you
so
stick. We got a dozen more questions we'd like to ask you.
Ted Leonsis joins us here. He's going to stick with us over the break, so stay with us, everyone. It is 8:15 on 105.9 FM and AM 630. Weather together every 10 minutes. 37 degrees in the nation's capital on WMAL. Yeah, it's raining. You know, it's this whole weekend is a good time to see some sports. You can go down to see Verizon Center, check out the Capitals, check out the Wizards, and well, the Mystics aren't playing yet. But talk to me. You know, there's a hub now where you can find all the information you need about everything that Ted Leonsis is doing. He's our guest. It's monumentalnetwork.com. Is this sort of the be-all and end-all go-to network for everything that is Ted Leonsis?
No, not quite yet. And really what we wanted to do was create a prototype for what we see as a next-generation multimedia network that you can have access to on your mobile device, your tablet, iPad, if you will, and then eventually on cable. And we saw an opportunity to build a great studio and hire lots of people to create next-generation programming, mostly video programming, and activate a blogosphere locally that could talk about not just the Caps and the Wizards and the Mystics, but college sports and high school sports, and then music and dining, because really the role we're playing in D.C. with Verizon Center, where we're bringing 2.5 million people into that building. We also manage Patriot Center, and we own the Kepler Capital's Iceplex in Boston. Between those three anchor buildings, if you will, we've activated a lot of commerce, and we host lots of concerts and family shows and the like. So we just wanted to create a next-generation media property, and
great.
we're off to a very good start.
Well, that's monumentalnetwork.com, everybody, for all that.
You are sort of a big business guy, and I noticed that that you once said economic success has somehow become the new boogeyman. Some in the Democratic Party are now casting about for enemies and business leaders, and anyone who has achieved success in terms of rank or physical success is being cast as a bad guy in a black hat. I remember when you said it. I couldn't have agreed more at the time. Do you still feel that way?
Well, I wanted to get that off my chest, and I try not to get too involved with politics, but I just felt at the time there was this argument being made that all people who were trying to drive businesses were doing things in a perhaps not right way, and I think the number one issue facing the country is jobs, and through all of the businesses and investments that we're making locally, and be it Groupon or American Express or Monumental Sports and Entertainment, or Revolution Growth Fund, which is our investment fund with Steve Case and Don Davis, where we've been investing in local businesses. All we're really trying to do is create value and create jobs. And so, we should be supporting and celebrating companies that hire people and pay taxes and the like. We need to remember Verizon Center turned around downtown D.C.
Sure did.
That was a private endeavor that Mr. Poland had belief in the city. I've stepped into those big shoes. We have a huge mortgage. And, we have to drive that business. We have to bring people into the arena. But we pay 10% taxes. And all of the residents and the businesses around the arena within a half a mile are now generating over $500 million of tax revenues for the city. It's more than 10% of the budget of the city.
You didn't build that, Ted Leonsis. You did not build that.
No, Mr. Poland built the building, but we're paying that mortgage.
Yes,
and we're paying the taxes, and that's a good thing, right?
That is a good thing. It should be encouraged.
That's right, and we employ about 1,700 full and part-time people downtown, and so I think it's very, very important for municipalities and local governments and the federal government to celebrate businesses and to reach out to business leaders, because how we tax and regulations and just the myriad of things that the government is involved in have a direct effect on how these businesses can grow and prosper and hire people.
All right, Ted Leonsis is our guest, and we got one more question for you. We're going to do it right after this, because I want to hear, a lot of people don't know this, you survived an airplane crash in '83 and made a bucket list of things you wanted to do with your life, and boy, have you ever done so many of them. We're going to get to that. WMAL, all right, the scene is 1983. Ted Leonsis is sitting on a plane. He survives a crash landing, and he reflects on his life. He makes a list of 101 things that he wants to do in his life, and it's travel, it's financial matters, family matters, charities, sports, entertainment, and really this was sort of the dawn of the idea of a bucket list. So talk to me, Ted Leonsis. What item on your bucket list have you still not done that you really want to do next?
Well, I'd like to win a championship.
Yeah, well,
so would we. The wrong way against that goal, and I would like to go in outer space. I think that would be a fun and exciting adventure, and it seems that's coming more and more to fruition, so I bet you in my lifetime I will be able to go into space.
You'll be up there on Virgin Galactic and doing orbit?
I think the commercialization of space and the things that are happening with the business sector and making that dream a reality for lots of people, certainly in my lifetime, is going to come to fruition. I think the key thing on the bucket list really is that, I had a reckoning. I've had several reckonings since then. I think everyone has reckonings. You have a setback, you have a financial setback, someone you love dies, you have a health scare, and And it's how you react to that reckoning which really matters and gives quality and meaning to your life on the go forward. And, I just found from that experience by making that list that it's been something that's compelled me to do a lot of things that perhaps would be out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
And
well, Ted,
I encourage everyone to make their list.
I see you've got winning a Tony Award on there. I know my way around Broadway. I might be able to help you with that. And also,
I won an Emmy Award.
My bucket list, Ted, is to see a Caps game from the owner's box. Just saying.
Just saying.
You have an open invitation.
Wow!
I would be glad to host both of you and your families. Certainly
have you
no
shame, Larry O'Connor?
I have no shame. Thanks, Ted Leonsis, for joining us today.
Listen, I really appreciate you hanging, and please come back. We really enjoyed
it. Thank you. Anytime.
It's 8:25 on 105. Bam! I did it. It's 8:25 on 105.9 FM and AM 630 WMAL. Time for traffic and weather together. First on the fives. Hey, Jamie Whitten.
Got your number.
Yes, you can come too.
All right, that's what I wanted. All right, good morning, everyone, and much better morning now. Around the Beltway, Maryland.